atrocity that All Elite Wrestling has become. First and foremost, I don't need to say this, but I know I need to say this because fans are dumb and they're easily swayed. It's the whole reason people actually believe that the UFC somehow is able to find the best talent out of 8 billion people. Right. There's no great talent anywhere else. Dana White's the king of negotiation. He calls women men and leaks information about people being hard to deal with. Super professional. Always gets the best talent. The idea that AEW is somehow without flaw is a misconception that needs to die, and I'm here to kill it. Marcus is going to cower in the corner because he knows that shit's about to come at me, and we don't need Marcus getting caught in the crossfire. That's a hate crime. And if it's not, I'm going to pretend it is because, duh, it's me.
Yeah. If anybody hears anything going, that's me.
No Marcuses were hurt in the filming of this rant. So a couple days ago it was announced that Impact has reacquired David Sahadi, arguably their most well-known backstage personality of probably all time. He was there through so many of the years in Impact that, it wasn't uncommon for Mike Tenay to go, David Sahadi, can you pull that up on the truck and get a replay? And then we would get a replay. Well, he spent all of, a day and a half in AEW. I'm being a bit facetious. And he's returned now to Impact Wrestling. And in doing so, he took a parting shot at AEW, saying, quote, in 2020, Impact Wrestling is going to give fans something they've long desired and something AEW promised but never delivered. Change. Now, this got all the AEW fanboys up in a tizzy, a twirl, a roustabout, if you will. They were flocking like seagulls, buzzing like a hive, and swarming like an anthill. Dave, it's not very productive to slander AEW on the way out. We want AEW to succeed in this space as well. Maybe you should realize that AEW's done more in 1 year than Impact has in 17. First and foremost, no, they haven't. Called the fuck down. Y'all wrong. They're already at 600,000, 700,000. They're getting beat by the fourth best show in WWE right now in terms of ratings. They didn't do shit. Calm the fuck down. Secondly, or thirdly, I don't even know what number I'm on. AEW is fundamentally flawed for one reason and one reason only. They continually allow the talent to govern themselves. Cody manages the main roster. Kenny Omega does the women's. The Young Bucks manage the tag team. Jon Moxley manages catering because, let's be honest, a lot of that crew needs to maybe cut a little LBs. I'm just saying. You spent so long and so unbelievably long building up a roster of diversity only to put over the fact that you are a diverse roster, nothing more. Oh, cool, you got Nyla Rose, a transgender women's wrestler. You call her the female version of Rhino. What's her record? Oh, it's probably losing because turns out half the roster, actually more than half the roster, have losing records. Huh. That's a bit peculiar. You're giving away major pay-per-view level matches on television because booking? The show's already redundant. I literally stopped watching after 4 weeks because nothing was happening. On 4 weeks of shows, nothing was happening. In fact, nothing was happening so much that bad things were starting to happen. I've mentioned this before and I'm going to bring it up. AEW is the only time in my life I've ever seen the best referee in the promotion and two of the best tag team wrestlers in the promotion completely say, fuck the rules. We're going to make a tag with both members inside the ring and call it a day. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I've watched all of Superman 4. That was not a good movie. Nuclear Man, what were you thinking? The problem comes with the fact that the women's division is not just not being booked well, it's not good. Britt Baker is not a good wrestler. Do I have to say it? I'm going to say it. She's only there because everyone's friends with Adam Cole. But, Chad, you ain't hire people just because of who you're married to. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, troll, because, in fact, Cody said he would. Cody said that he's going to hire his friends because he believes in nepotism. That's not misquoted. That's not taken out of context. That's not something that was made up to feed the ego. Cody said he's going to hire his friends because he believes in nepotism. So, of course, Britt Baker has a spot on this roster. There's no reason why she should have a spot on this roster other than who she's married to or dating. I don't know what her relationship status is. Is she a great dentist? I don't know. I haven't seen her get sued for malpractice, so I think she's pretty good. Is she a great wrestler? I can substantially say no. I've seen her wrestle. She's not great. And to build an entire promotion around her or a women's division around her is like trying to build an entire football team around Mason Rudolph. Don't do it. But it gets worse than that. It truly does. Because let's talk about Jim Ross for a moment. Marcus, would you say Jim Ross is a problem?
Depending on the week. Are we talking the weeks where he's kind of just off on commentary, or the weeks where he's basically sitting there very much having content of his own faculties and basically criticizing the promotion he's working for?
I would argue that those are not different weeks. Those are literally just the same weeks. Because Jim Ross is technically not the problem. Now, if you got an old man going, "Who's this guy?" you're going to think, Jim Ross doesn't know who this is. How pathetically redundant. Why is this old codger being allowed to come out here and tarnish such a great product? The greatest wrestling since Lou Thez and someone else in 1954 and the sundry of Omaha Beat. I don't fucking know. The thing is, though, Jim Ross is actually doing his job. And this leads us into another problem. Who the fuck is AEW booking for? It's not the hardcore fan because Kenny Omega's 1-37. Cody Rhodes can't challenge for the world title ever again. Two of your biggest draws, arguably bigger than Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, are being jobbed out like bitches and are losing like snitches. And it makes no fucking sense. Why would you make Cody unable to win the world title when he's one of the 3 reasons people are tuning in every week? You fucking mongoloids. It doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to be promoting a product that is different than the WWE. Are you going to forget one day that Cody can't ever challenge for the world title again? Ever challenge again. EVER. Marcus, hit me with that squints line from Sandman. How long, Marcus?
Forever.
Marcus knows what's up. We don't rehearse this, by the way, folks. Marcus is just that. He's just that spot on. He gets it. Cody Rhodes, for the remainder of his 60 to 70 years on this earth, can never again wrestle for the world title according to the stipulations that he booked himself in. We're going to be different than the WWE. Boom. Can't challenge for the world title ever again. So different. It's almost like you don't actually know what you're doing. Hey, should we not put the in his prime super baby face who's over with everyone and their mother not in the main event ever again? Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So we're going to make way for Kenny Omega, and he'll main event with Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley. Oh, they're not going to main event for the title. They're going to go on in a dark match. Are we allowed to do that? I don't know. I sure hope we don't get sued. We'll get to that one too, folks. So, back to Jim Ross. Jim Ross isn't the problem. You have Chunky McChunkerton and Baldy McBeardingface. And who the fuck are they? They're player uno and something or other. Yeah, but who are they? It's, all right, so you got the Dark Order. Who the fuck are they? Now, listen, the Dark Order's not a bad tag team. I've been watching them since they were Player Uno and Player Dos way back in Shikara. I know who they are. I didn't know who they were when they debuted because who the fuck's been watching the Super Smash Bros. Since 2012? Clearly not me. So you know what you do with a tag team like that? You put them in a fucking vignette. You acknowledge no one's going to know who the fuck you are. And a impact, no pun intended, from a tag team who no one knows who the fuck you are makes about as much sense as slapping a gopher with a fish. There is no logical reason to do it other than to do it. And of course, their super debut where they showed up with 20 guys in masks, well, it went over like a fart in church. No one knows who the fuck they are, and still no one cares. There's literally no one that I've seen on the internet talk about, ooh, really can't wait for that Dark Order, man. They're going to be peak. And now I look at EYFOB or Pride and Powerful, and I just go, it wasn't really worth leaving. Because it looks like you're about to be fucked all over again, my friends. But we're not. We're still not done. So we get to this past week's episode of AEW Dynamite, Marcus. And we get this random ass Batman villain coming out of the ground to attack Cody Rhodes. And Excalibur going, it's the Butcher! It's the Butcher! It's the Butcher! And Jim Ross is going, who? Who is that? Who? He's not actually saying, who is that, Marcus? What he's saying is a command prompt to Excalibur to explain who. Jim Ross knows who that is. He was probably there when he was hired. He probably knows well of who Braxton Sutter is. But that was Excalibur's opportunity to explain to the crowd that the Butcher or the Blade, I don't know which one he is Braxton Sutter. Former Impact talent. Husband to AEW's Alley. And now he has an issue with Cody, and we don't know why. It takes all of that mind power, all of that mental prowess to get to that point. And Jim Ross can't say, hey, Excalibur, you stupid fucking masked moron, for once in your life, stop doing a goddamn pop culture reference and just explain to the goddamn audience who the fuck this masked douchebag is. You masked douchebag. He can't say that. I can't, so I will. And then the other one, the Blade or the Butcher, I think his name's Andy Williams, and he's a bassist from a band, and he comes out next and beats up Cody, and oh my God, who did it? And here's Excalibur, it's the other one, rah! And Jim Ross, you can hear digging his fingernails into his skin, raking down. Because this is a man who has been on the indie scene for 10 years calling wrestling matches to the same 180 people buying the PWG DVDs. Excalibur does not know how to do commentary for a live national audience. It is fucking clear as crystal. It is plain as the day is long. He is not good. He has not been formally trained. He has no actual experience. He has not gone to school for broadcasting. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he is the biggest issue on the fucking commentary table. But you can't say that because then people go, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been watching wrestling for longer than most of you have been alive. You have to tell the audience who these people are in all but the rarest of occasions. If The Rock shows up, you don't need to say, oh, that's Dwayne The Rock Johnson, a WWE Hall of Famer, or soon to be, massive movie star. We know who he is. You're good. But little indie jobber tag team boy number 4, we're going to need some backstory when he comes out. And again, much rather have them debut via video. do a prompt. Have a little situation where you can do a video. Get people engaged. Ooh, who's this new tag team debuting in 3 weeks? Ooh, I'm excited. Then you get this chick walking out. She's getting a bunny costume. I'm like, oh, it's Peter from New Japan. Because that's literally her gimmick. But it's now all of a sudden Allie. When did Allie become the bunny? We know she's the bunny from Impact. But you haven't referenced anyone from Impact or doing anything in Impact. So how are we supposed to naturally assume that this individual, this hot, blonde, stacked Playboy model lookalike, is rehashing a new version of her bunny gimmick from Impact? We don't know this if we aren't told this. Were we told this? No, because the commentary don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm so glad that I had a very low sodium dinner. Oh, but Marcus, we're not done yet. This all comes at the same exact time that I think it's the Maryland Athletic Commission is launching an investigation into AEW. Let me double check this. Let me get the right Athletic Commission here. Yep, it's Maryland. AEW is being investigated by the Maryland State Athletic Commission for blatantly refusing to follow the rules that the commission enforces for all pro wrestling events. They were told what they can do and what they can't do, and then they let them do everything they can't do. Again, say what you will about Vince McMahon. I said this a few weeks ago. But this shit doesn't happen under his watch. Now, other shit does. Arguably more awful shit does. But here's where I come to my point. AEW's fucked because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They stopped selling out arenas. They're halved in views. Britt Baker's already gone. David Sahadi's already gone. You got people who once were trying to get to AEW, now no longer thinking about going to AEW. It's pretty indicative that the WWE is still in the same fuck-all mindset that they were 6 months ago. And yet, guys like Dawson and the other guy with the hair, they're literally the same person to me. Gunner Murphy, we'll call him Gunner Murphy. You got Gunner Murphy, the heavy machinery. They're all the same tag team, folks. That's what I'm trying. That's the joke. That's the bit. Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, right? That's the tag team that everyone loves. The Revival. I think I yelled Marcus into the corner.
Dash Wilder and
Scott Dawson?
Yeah.
Okay. These guys 6 months ago were on their way to AEW. They signed contracts with an opt-out clause in 4 to 6 months or whatever it was. And after that time, they could go. They weren't being booked properly. They're not being booked properly. In fact, arguably, the entire brand's being booked worse. Poor goddamn Chad Gable. And now you have AEW looking like it's a giant fuck-all mess. They've signed 50 goddamn wrestlers, 10 of which have name value. Like, Marcus, when they were signing Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody and Hangman Page and Jericho and Pac, X-Pac, whatever his name is, then they got Pentagon and Phoenix. Like, holy shit. They got the creme de la creme, the cream de la creme. This is the best top lineup I've ever seen. Wait, you're gonna push Hangman Page above everyone else. You're not going to put Moxley or Omega in the main event scene. You're going to put Phoenix and Pentagon into a tag team, even though they are better off individually for your brand. And you got Pride and Powerful, the former LAX. You got the SoCal Uncensored. You got the Best Friend. You got a pretty deep stacked tag team division even without them. And you're still going to put them in the tag team division even though you don't have an upper mid-card or a mid-card to speak of? Like, what? Oh, okay, you got Jake Hager. Okay, that's a good mid-card guy. Who else do you got? You're going to put Jack Evans in singles matches? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh, you're going to put Scorpio Sky in a world title match. Oh, Darby Allin's in a title match? This doesn't make a lot of sense. But Darby Allin's going to be booked more in the coming weeks. Oh, he's not really being booked in the coming weeks after that title loss. So, okay. Oh, you got Joey Janela. And Joey Janela is already bitching about his booking online. What? Wait. One of the big indie darlings that you were repping, Joey Janela, is already bitching about his indie appearance, his booking in AEW already. Marcus, did you hear about this? That Joey Janela's already upset with how he's being booked only 6 months into the goddamn experiment?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's upset with how he's being booked, not the fact that he took an L to Enzo Amore.
Well, he didn't take that L. Enzo gave him that L.
Even worse, and I'd still be stewing in that. But yeah, because Joey Janela, that's who people are waiting to break through. Not MJF, not Cody, Omega, Moxley, who seem to be Moxley's probably one of the guys holding the float right now. But yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how the women feel.
I bet you they're pretty upset. I wonder why Smiley Kylie Rae decided that she wasn't going to form a tag team with the dentist. Because let's be honest, when you're the smiley one and you got a dentist on brand, that's a fucking made, like, that's a sugary made tag team right there, man. I don't know what you call that, like mouth cleaning express. Oh, yep, there it is.
The Oilless.
What was it?
The Oilless.
The Oilless. That sounds more like an IPWF tag team, though. We're the Oilless! And Rough Riders, you want to come on us like no one else has ever come on us before? Well, we're going to take a bite out of you. Like we know you like. There's a guy in the back going, this is a lesbian porn. I want everyone to know that we are just taking the lines from a lesbian porn. By the by, I'm going to do a new gimmick on Twitter. Wrestling name or porn star name? Right? Like that's pretty damn good.
Oh my God. What was that thread? Did you see that thread? And I think of a mutual social media acquaintance, Shroomster.
I love me some Shroom. He's got the good takes.
It was this great thread where they basically compared porn stars to wrestlers.
It's a pretty one-to-one comparison.
Yeah, it was a great thread. I'm gonna see if I can find it later. But yeah, wow. That was gonna be the pairing. Okay, that's
It's not actually the pairing. I'm being more facetious with the pairing, because like it just makes sense.
Oh.
You got the dentist and then the person who smiles all the time. Like it just works. It's like having like a wrestler who's a chocolate sponge cake, and then you got another wrestler who's the frosting. Of course you're going to slam them together and call them the ho-hos. Like,
and
a doy.
And then eventually they could have Britt turn on because she doesn't feel like her mouth is up to her standards of care.
Or maybe Britt's seeing some cavities in Smiley Kylie's smile that may or may not be there. Like, there's a rich tapestry of potential feuds had Kylie Rae not left.
By the way, for all the times we've kind of spat on ourselves for being potentially horrible bookers, we just booked a really great segment for the next IWPF for Impact next year.
We really did. So, you have Joey Janela complaining about his booking. The women have not specifically the women, but the women's division has come under fire because it's just bad. And now listen, I'm not going to sit here and stand on a soapbox and go, Impact's intergender wrestling is what we need in 2020. No. No more intergender wrestling. We're good. But when you have Joey Janela going online to complain about his booking in the first, what are we even in, 8 weeks? We're not even at 6 months. We're at 8 weeks, Marcus. That's a problem. And then you have Jimmy Havoc trying to fight your lead announcer who can't even do his job correctly in a public restaurant for the world to see over what reason? Oh, by the by, Jimmy Havoc just had one of the best Falls Count Anywhere matches in the history of wrestling. Because, and Marcus, this is 100% legit. You know how sometimes I say shit that sounds real, but it's actually just me being an asshole and I'm joking? This is actually what happened on MLW Fusion. I think it's called Fusion. Mance Warner chased Jimmy Havoc out of the arena, and Jimmy Havoc literally went home. Mance Warner then kicked down his apartment door and continued to assault him in his own apartment. It was fantastic, and then he abducted him. He committed a felony to try to win a match. Mance Warner. I don't know if I'm a fan, but I definitely appreciated that entire segment.
MLW Fusion, where falls and felonies count anywhere.
Right? So, I look at what's going on in AEW, and I'm seeing a lot of major issues. Now, they're backed by a billionaire's son who's bored and needs a hobby. He's literally Indian Dixie. This is Bollywood AEW. This thing's not going to go anywhere unless they want to stop paying for it. And let's be honest. The Jaguars finally have a good owner. They'll be able to turn things around financially. That dude's made more money than like 20 fucking trillion people. I think there's like 8 people ahead of him in the Forbes top 100 or whatever. The dude's got money, and his son needs a hobby, so AEW is going to be fine. But they need, Marcus, they fucking need someone running that company that isn't Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, or someone else in between. Because they are people, Brandy's included, who have no business being ownership or management. They have no business trying to structure or build this company because they signed Brandon Cutler, who has done dick all to help that promotion. They signed Shawn Spears, and they thrust him into a main event feud when he hadn't won a match in about 14 years. I think his last win was over Charlotte Flair in 9th grade back in 2001. The ages don't make sense. Don't try to make it work. I'm being overly obnoxious with my analogies and my facts. I'm being purposely flippant, so calm down, people. But you can't keep hiring your buddies and putting them in major roles. You know who did that, Marcus? God, this is the most TNT wrestling thing ever. Throwing Shawn Spears into a main event feud after being a jobber for about 7 years is literally what Hulk Hogan did with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Bringing him in at Bash the Beach 1994 and then feuding with him until Starrcade, where they were the main event. Brother Bruta for the world title. Could you imagine Shawn Spears going for the AEW world title? What a goddamn joke. Oh, but we get Virgil every so often. I'm not even going to complain about that. That's how I think that's awesome. Marcus, I know you are less obtuse about your views on AEW. I am coming at this like Homer's father coming out and yelling at clouds. I know that. I know how I sound. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But this is a promotion that has allowed the inmates to run the asylum, and it's starting to look like a busted up, broken down asylum. You cannot keep having wrestlers doing their own goddamn thing. Someone needs to be accountable for the actions of your roster. You have people quitting. You have people leaving. You have people deciding not to do their jobs. Who the fuck is going to stand up and say, this is it, we are done? Next person that fucks up is gone. And this is the problem. Cody's never going to do that because he hired all of his friends. Don't hire your friends if you're not willing to fucking fire them. As Booker T once said, we come for you. Wait, nope, not that one. Not that one. Sorry, my bad. As Booker T once said, be a man, Hulk. Actually, no, that was Randy Savage. My bad. As Randy Savage once said, be a man, Hulkster. Be a man. Oh, yeah. Be a man, Cody. Or Brandy, be a man. I don't give a fuck which one of y'all just needs to be a man. Well, one of y'all needs to step up and fucking fire some people. Let the fear of God rain down in your decision making. And let them know that if they violate state law again, there's not going to be an internal investigation. There's going to be pink slips and lawsuits. But Cody doesn't have the balls. His wife took them on their wedding day, apparently. By the by, I just saw Simone Biles in the commercial. God damn! Nakamura. No, I'm sorry. Shibata, hit me with that one more time. God damn! Dude. Simone Biles.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like you said, I'm not as maybe
Flip it.
stringently tough on it as
Aggressive.
you are. Rightfully so.
Overly abusive.
No,
Abrasive. Dickish.
I mean, look. I mean, you're just matching the level of hype around it with you know, equal criticism, because you know, I think even with me, I mean, the cracks are clearly there, and they're showing more and more, and I think um it's more in your face now with that win-loss record and stuff. You know, just little stuff that we've talked about. You know, talking about the show, like, you know, I was really looking forward to seeing what they did with Shawn Spears, um, and I think hindsight being 2020, they could have, you know, held off on thrusting him in the spotlight that fast and kind of did some vignettes or some stuff here and there just to build up the fact that he, you know, he took the L that he basically had to be settled with in WWE, and tried to kind of transform himself into a different way, and, you know, kind of delved into the psyche and found something else which would lead him to maybe be obsessed uh, with maybe going after Cody. And then, you know, we slowly evolve him into this chairman where he actually uses the chair on a consistent basis. Or start small and start taking people out, maybe around Cody or on the roster in general. Anyway, a slow build may have been better, because if you were just going to hot shot him, hand him a L, and he went from what practically main eventing one of the big shows with the top guy in the company to now having a multi-man match with the librarian who shouldn't even be on the main show, my personal opinion, then, you know, you kind of cut the man off at the knees. And it's only made worse by the fact that you paired him with one of the legends in the business in Tully Blanchard. That's But that's just one of several issues. I think when it really comes down to it, they're still riding the wave of hype that they created around promises I don't think they can keep right now. So yeah, it's like you said, there might be too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, reins need to be pulled back. They kind of really need to go back to the drawing board in terms of this win-loss stuff if they're gonna give off the perception of a certain hierarchy, but then end up doing 50-50 booking, kind of how, like we saw with Neville and Hangman Page. So yeah, you know, like I said, while I'm not as stringent on you, I think with you, it's just like I said at the top of the show. You see so much potential, you see it's kind of being wasted, but people are still touting about it because it's just something different from the crap that's over here. But if it's two piles of boo boo and this one has, I don't know, band of roses, that don't make it any less of. It may be more presentable boo boo, but you know. So I think they can be fixed. Like you said, it's just 8 weeks and they're all growing pains with a startup company like this. But they kind of, it sucks even worse because if it was a lesser promotion that you know lacked both funds and the quality of talent, I think you could go a little bit smoother. But they have the money and all this great talent and the potential to get even more talent. Of course, WWE cut some of that off at the knees with those fat ass contracts. But yeah, it just sucks because they're falling off the cliff faster than companies who had less and were forced to kind of go around and do more with. So I think that's, you know, like I said, I think it's a problem they can solve. I just don't know the immediate solutions past, like you said, kind of hurting some of that meat, or cutting off some of that fat at the top. So we'll see. But I am with you. Like, it is the cracks there. And people on that naivete. And but that's not just with AEW. We've been dealing with it with WWE for how many years now. So. Did you mute yourself?
I did. Thank you for pointing that out. They had the opportunity to sign Rob Van Dam and Rhino and Eli Drake and Mr. Anderson and Kingston and Homicide to round out their mid-card. They chose not to. So their development pains, their inability to create new stars, all on them. Now, I want to go through all these records, Marcus, because I want to show you just how bad this booking has been. Hangman Page is 5-6. He's 4-4 in singles matches, folks. He was supposed to be the first AEW World Champion in the eyes of many fans. 4-4. And Helico has not even had a singles match. And he is somehow 0-3 in tag matches, 0-2 in trios matches, but he has 2 wins somehow? Okay. Jericho 8-1. That's fine. He's the world champion. He's the top draw. He should be. Christopher Daniels, 3-2. 0-1 in singles, 3-0 in trios. Again, where's that fucking second loss? Who knows? Not listed. Chuck Taylor, 5-4. He's 4-3 in tag matches. And 1-0 in trios. Again, where's that other loss? SEMA, 2-5. The Natural Dustin Rhodes, 2-3. Darby Allin, 4-1. Cody, the man who can never challenge for the world title again, 5-2-1. Evil Uno, 4-2. Frankie Kazarian, 9-3. Isaiah Cassidy, 4-6. Jimmy Havoc, one of your big signings, 3-4. Jake Hager's yet to wrestle. Jack Evans, 2-7. Joey Janela, another one of your big signings, 2-4. Jungle Boy, one of your most over properties, Marcus. You want to take a guess how many wins Jungle Boy has?
2. Am I being generous?
I'll let you know when he gets one. He's 0-8. John Moxley, 3-1-1. Kenny Omega, 7-4. Why is he 7-4? Why isn't he in the main event scene? Why was he losing every match in the first 4 weeks, but now he hasn't lost since? What's the fucking plot? Luchasaurus, 1-3. Kip Sabian, 2-3. Marco Stunt, 0-6. I'm fine with that one. MJF, 3-1. Mark Quinn, 4-6. The Jacksons, 7-4 and 7-5 respectively. Michael Nakazawa, 1-2. Orange Cassidy, 1-0. Pac, 4-3-1. Ortiz is 4-1. All in tag team action. That's fine. Pentagon, losing record, 5-6. One of your 5 best draws. One of the coolest wrestlers in the last 20 years. The better worker version of La Parka. Hasn't won a singles match in his entire AEW run yet. Peter Avalon, 4-5. 0-5. QT Marshall. Who the fuck hired QT Marshall? 0-2. Santana, 4-1. Sammy Guevara, 3-4. Ray Phoenix, 6-5. Scorpio Sky, 9-4. So clearly the SCU is being well booked. Sean Spears is 5-3. Against who? I don't know. Sonny Kiss, 2-2. Oh, by the by, didn't they just do like a children's charity where Sonny Kiss was shaking his ass around all over the place? Oh, it's the Special Olympics, I think. Time and place, man. Time and place. Not the time nor the place. Stu Grayson, 4-2. Trent, question mark, 6-5. Wardlow is a prospect. So here we go to the women, and it gets even worse. Allie, 3-2. Awesome Kong, 1-1. Why does Awesome Kong have a loss? Who knows? Babe Priestley, 2-3. Brandy Rhodes, undefeated, 1-0. Emi Sakura, 3-3. Britt Baker, 6-3. Because we all want to see Britt Baker, folks. Shida, Hikaru Shida, 4-1. But she's not even a main roster. She's not even signed to a full-time deal, to the best of my knowledge. Leva Bates, 1-3. Nyla Rose, 3-3. Sadie Gibbs, 1-1. Rio, 8-2. I wonder who they're pushing. Penelope Ford is yet to get a win. Yuka Sakazaki, the magical girl, 0-2. Then you got Shauna, 1-2. Clearly, they're favoring like 4 people. And I don't know why the booking is this repugnant, but it is. It is, and I don't know what to do about it. Nope, come on. Nope, come on. That's fix yourself. So, Marcus, I don't know, man. You want to talk about Sandman? I want to talk about Sandman. Marcus, did you think that in 2019 we'd be talking about Sandman?
Sorry. Say that again. You were breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Marcus and I are breaking up, apparently. Did you think in 2019 we'd be talking about the Sandman?
No, and I definitely didn't think we'd be talking in 2019 about the Sandman and then about this particular bit of idiocy, really. That's what it is.
So first and foremost, I'm going to go on record again and say that Jordynne Grace, a.k.a. whatever her real, Trisha Parker, is someone who very much wants the attention. She does. The only reason you tweet on social media is for the attention. We have 2 entire Twitter accounts where we're trying to get attention on our product. We know what it's about. You don't want attention, you're not going to be on social media. So let's not play that game. Jordynne Grace ran to social media last night for the attention. It's not like going and trying to shame Sandman's going to change anything. Let's be honest about that. This is like trying to give a 22-year-old dog a 5th leg. Why? What's the point? Just leave it be. So the Sandman went up to the women last night at the WrestleCade event. And that's one of the shows I want to watch. That and the MLW pay-per-view are on my to-do list. So it was going to be a tag team match. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was going to be Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary versus Jordynne Grace and Tessa Blanchard, I think. Or some combination of those 4. Some combination of those 4. I'm not exactly sure who was tagging with who. And before the match started, Sandman came up and realized that they were going to be main eventing the show. You had Nick Aldis facing off the Great Muta. I don't know why that wasn't the main event, but that's neither here nor there. And he said that it's a shame, a travesty, a mockery that the women were going to be main eventing because no woman could ever main event like a man. That's what Sandman essentially said, according to Jordynne Grace. Now, I have no reason to doubt her because a lot of people were like, that's exactly what he said. Or to some extent of what he said. Tessa Blanchard apparently verbally lit him up after he said that. So, kudos to Tessa. But then the whole thing came into this downward spiral on social media where everyone was trashing Sandman. And a lot of people were poking fun at him for being an alcoholic. And I'm kind of like, that's not a cool thing to make fun of people. But then again, this is the modern social justice movement where it's okay to mock someone and bully someone if they're on the wrong side of history. I don't know. That just seems like you're being a bully to me. Now, I don't disagree with Jordynne Grace and Tessa Blanchard. We've seen women main event before. We've seen women have fantastic matches before. It's not a new thing. It's not some kind of out there concept. I don't think shaming Sandman was going to be how you won people over because the same people who are going to side with him are going to point to this as an example as to why he's right. So you didn't do yourself any favors. But on the flip side, Sandman is an old relic of yesteryear. In the same vein as Jim Cornette, only probably with a little bit more, we'll say, biased tendencies. So what really were you expecting? At a certain point, you need to just say, you're 60, you think dumb things, and that's okay. To quote, or to paraphrase Jim Ross's Oklahoma Sooners, boomer sooner. Because that's exactly what these people are, boomers. So don't worry about it. Don't make every minor event in your life a cataclysmic event for you to go nuclear on. I say this knowing that I spent a half an hour screaming into a microphone about a fictional sporting event. My life has no meaning. We've come full circle. Marcus, I know you're not going to side with Sandman, but do you think Jordynne Grace should have gone to social media to vent about her frustrations with the man with the big cane? Oh, I apparently seem to have lost Marcus. Let me see if I can't get him back. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. I don't know why my computer is opting to be this difficult. Marcus, you're back.
Yeah, it was a bunch of static and then it just dropped.
That might have been my fault. I don't know. Marcus, do you think Jordynne Grace should have ran to Twitter to expose the Sandman for his very 60-year-old ideologies?
I don't think it was, looking at it in its totality, I don't think it was necessary to do the thing, the broad stroke of it on Twitter, but because we all live in the age that we are, it's kind of like the see something, say something thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you want to go potentially a little deeper, if he's had that type of mentality for all these years and he had it, he had the balls, if you will, to step to women and say that to their face. Imagine, like, if this guy's been on shows where, other shows where women could have been a main event and he may have done something to hinder that or just get it wiped completely. Because if you had that mentality and you're suffering from other things or you're just a salty a-hole, you do spiteful stuff, hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that regard, putting it out, put other people on alert about it. If this is going to be the guy that you hire, just know that this is his mentality. Specifically knowing that these women work just as hard as the men to go out there and sometimes get half the applause the men get, even though they may have worked harder just because of who they are. So in that regard, I could see how that would be beneficial because there's so many. I mean, look at the all race thing. Had Klein kept that to herself, a lot of people wouldn't be up on Ring of Honor's BS. They'd still be, kind of riding that stern bandwagon that so many have stayed on despite the decline over the years. But when, she started a little fire and then it got wood put on it by other people that have suffered negative dealings with the company. And I think that's aided in shining a very needed light on that company. And I think in this regard, I think it's obviously you could just tell them off and something like that. But in a time where, like I said, it is imperative that we kind of put a stop to potentially harmful things, specifically when it's for other people who may not be aware of stuff like this. I think it's a one-off, potentially or just like a one-off statement about it could be fine. But Jordynne is kind of one of those people who she has a point to make. She'll make it several times and stop when she feels like it, kind of deal. But I kind of see both. I get both sides of it.
Yeah, Jordynne to me is someone who's always going to be a sticky wicket of a situation. And by the by, apologies for anyone who notices that we're having some static issues tonight. I don't know why, but I mean, we pretty much suck at our job, so it's kind of standard fare. Jordynne's someone who likes to monopolize her grievances. She put out an entire book on thirsty DMs, people who have DM'd her with very illicit language. I'm not going to say she's profiting off her victimization, but she is finding ways to spin these negatives into positives. And when I see that, I on one hand, I applaud them. You know, because
Yeah.
if you can monopolize and monetize these grievances, kudos. You have a shelf life. Only so much time on your career. I don't begrudge anyone for finding ways to make as much money as they can legally. But on the flip side, at a certain point, I wonder how much of this are you doing because you believe in it, and how much of this are you doing because you know eventually you can monetize it.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make a blatant statement that she's doing or all this just to make money, because, you know, she's wrestling just to make money, let's be clear. But, like, outing Sandman, she'll eventually write that into a book somehow. I don't doubt that. But is that the only reason she did it? I don't think so. I don't think she's a bad person. I just think she's very brazen with her opinion. But then again, so am I. So I'm not going to fault her for that, you know? As the kids say, game recognizes game. I said this before and I'll say it again. Jordynne Grace and I will not be able to ever exist in a room together because we are quite literally the same person. Same ego, same bravado, same general view on life. We're alphas. We're gonna collide. But as long as Jordan's on the roster, that means Jonathan Gresham might one day be an Impact. So that's a double win in my book. Because if you can keep Jordan and bring in Jonathan Gresham, that's a win. So real quickly, watch MLW. Yeah. It's fantastic. They got King Mo. Tom Lawler re-signed, so we might get that Tom Lawler-King Mo match I'm really hoping for. King Mo's debut was not fantastic, but it was serviceable. They booked him in a way that made sense, and I liked it. They didn't make him overly dominant, but they made him very efficient, which I think is exactly what you need to do. And I think you also need to realize that, as the reviewers of IPWF said, not all wrestling needs to be inherently good. It just needs to tell an inherently good story. And I think King Mo's debut on MLW this past Thursday did exactly that. By the by, I am all for wrestling on Thursdays for Thanksgiving. Yay. Okay, Marcus, so what else did you have on the docket that you wanted to touch on?
Oh, no, just the continued things about Corey Grace being a douchebag. He basically did the thing where blatantly made it a point to offend somebody, and then, you know, after days of being ridiculed and or just outright called out on this BS by people within the industry, issued an apology with the whole, you know, I'm sorry if you took it that way, and never outright apologize tomorrow. You know, somebody who was kind of vulnerable. He's always in a vulnerable state just because of things he has to deal with from